Welcome. We will be hearing today from different speakers from Poland, since we are organizing this webinar together with our wonderful Polish Diversity Charter, Forum Odpowiedzialnego Biznesu. And we have together and with their suggestions came up with the topic of trying to share with you the experiences of how businesses, organizations, institutions, and cities can responsibly respond to the war in Ukraine. As all of you know, there has been an influx of refugees. There has been a lot of support of sending help to Ukraine, trying to help people staying there, as well as those that are fleeing the war. And this has had a huge impact, not only on the society as such, but also on the businesses that try to figure out ways, how can we be of help? How can we make it easier for them to find jobs? How can we provide financial help or different types of help? So there are so many wonderful examples already from among the signatories of the diversity charters that have been shared with us. And we realized that as it came up a lot as a topic, it would be great to dedicate a webinar to it and to just have some great examples from people who have been directly involved in the response. So we will be co-presenting it together with Patricia from the Diversity Charter, and I will let her introduce the speakers one by one and give them the floor. And once again, thank you so much for joining us today, and I will then come in later on. Thank you again.
Thank you, Jana, for this warm welcome. It is a pleasure to be here today and participate in this EU platform of diversity charters webinar on how we mentioned how companies, organizations, and cities in the European Union respond to the war in Ukraine. At first, let us have a quick time for introduction. So my name is Patrycja Kamionek, and together with my colleague Sergiej Podus, we are representing Polish Diversity Charter, which is celebrating the 10th year anniversary this year. So it's a special year for us. And also, let me tell you that Polish Diversity Charter is solely coordinated in Poland by the Responsible Business Forum, which is an expert organization and the largest NGO in Poland promoting the idea of responsible business. We are operating since the year 2000. And also Responsible Business Forum initiates and partners in key CSR activities in Poland. And we naturally got involved in supporting our Ukrainian neighbors in need. And from the very first days of war, Poland was the most engaged country with the biggest number of Ukrainian refugees. So that is why we are excited to share the best practices and inspirations from Poland with other European countries and demonstrate the view from different perspectives. So the perspective of an NGO, a local self-government, and also business perspective, as well as the insider's view, Ukrainian organizations. So, Sergej, over to you.
Thank you so much.
We cannot hear you, Sergej, for some reason.
Tak, słychać?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. This is a presentation. Yeah. A little bit nervous. Okay, dear folks, today I would like to tell you about our perspective, of the Responsible Business Forum. Remind you that Responsible Business Forum is the organization which is coordinating the Polish Diversity Charter, and it is the biggest NGO in a business sustainability sphere in Poland. So our presentation was titled Intersectoral Responsibility to Support Ukraine, because in our opinion, intersectionality is one of the most important issues to support Ukrainians during this awful war and awful crisis as Russian-Ukrainian war and fight against Russian brutality and violence. Firstly, we are going to tell you a little bit more about the situation in Poland, in our country. everybody knows that Poland is the country which has hosted the biggest number of Ukrainian refugees since 24th February 2022. Since the beginning of this awful war, the Polish-Ukrainian border has been crossed by above 4 million people. It's according to the information provided by the border guard. During this time, a total of about 2 million people came back from Poland to Ukraine. And Polish employers informed about the employment of about 200,000 of Ukrainian citizens under a simplified procedure adopted in the government special act since March 15. It's informatic as Ministry of Family and Social Policy of Poland. And 1.1 million Ukrainian refugees has been assigned an identity number. And in Poland, it's called PESEL. And it's really important because Polish government has also organized a special financial help for everyone, for people hosting refugees. It's 40 zlotys per day, or about 9 euros per day. And it's really complicated because since April 30, PESEL, or this identity number for refugee, is necessary to ensure a payment this 9 euros per day. And that shows us how complicated solutions and terms and conditions are to obtain such funding, because we don't know what about people without PESEL, without this identification number, or in situation when somebody has already left. So in our opinion, that's not holistic systemic solution. It's so important nowadays. And let me tell you about main challenges of refugees arriving to Poland. Since the beginning of the war, we have observed spontaneous help because Poles has suddenly opened their big hearts and really engaged in supporting refugees on the border, on the railway stations, at their homes, like real brothers and sisters. And it's beautiful, in my opinion. And Responsible Business Forum, like Expert Hub, has seen the need to channel this support and introduce long-term systemic solutions, cooperating with partners. So I tell about intersectionality today. Organizations, our partners, partner organizations, and signatories of Diversity Charter in Poland. And I would like to tell you that main load of support is on self-governments. The scale of cities' assistance to people from Ukraine is incredible. And I think that Karolina Zdrodowska from Warsaw City Hall is going to tell you more about self-government engagement. And I think that it's a really important demographic issue, because among refugees that came to Poland were mainly women and children. So now we and the Polish society and Polish government should think about the future solutions for working mothers and their children. And next slide. And let me speak more about Polish initiatives to support Ukraine. Responsible Business Forum has prepared a special Stand with Ukraine infographic. We would like to map good practices. You can find it in our page, csr.pl Ukraine/Ukraine. And this infographic includes a big number of important information, like good practices of business, good CSR practices or ESG practices of business, publications and advisors useful, support services. It can be support services for Poles and for Ukrainians too. Important government information, for example, novelization of law and etc. Thematic articles and webinars recording. It includes also our webinars organized by Responsible Business Forum and Polish Diversity Charter too. And guidelines. And I think that good practices at this situation is translating every Polish service to Ukrainian. we are really try to translate most important information into Ukrainian language, because I am Ukrainian and I think that it's really important. So I would like to invite Patricia to continue this presentation.
Thank you, Sergey. Can you hear me? Okay. So now I'm going to tell you a little bit more about examples of business support. So Polish businesses have mobilized very quickly to help refugees because it is understood that refugees at different stages of their stay will need different support. So at first it was accommodation and transport mainly, and then finding jobs and also integrating with Polish society. So here you have a few examples of such support. For example, many companies already have employed Ukrainian employees, so they supported the Ukrainian employees by providing extra financial support. For example, Geronimo Martin's company did that, and some companies also work on relocating employees' families, which is very important at the beginning of war. Also, companies were closing businesses in Russia, and they were withdrawing the products from Russian products from the market, showing support. Also, accommodation was a great issue at the beginning, so companies were providing accommodation for refugees. Also, private healthcare companies, they also offered, for example, free medical assistance for refugees and free medical hotline in Ukrainian language. Also, banks in Poland, they removed fees for money transferred to Ukraine and also removed commissions from cash deposits. And also many policies were simplified to open a bank account in Poland for a foreigner. Also, mobile phone operators like Orange or T-Mobile, they reduced the cost of telephone calls to Ukrainian operators, just to name a few best practices. Also, companies were constantly making donations and supporting expert NGO organizations that were channeling help for refugees during this time. Next slide, please. And also our organization, Responsible Business Forum, instantly wanted to support. Of course, at first it was the spontaneous support, very widely seen in Poland. But then, as an expert organization, we felt with our business partners and our signatories that we need long-term systemic solutions for support. And for example, we dedicated Ukrainian space in our event, CSR Marketplace, that took place in May. We dedicated it to cooperation of business and Ukrainian organizations. We also initiated some initiatives in organizing co-working spaces for refugees in partnership with the city of Warsaw and Citibank. We also were involved in cooperation with Santander Bank to hand over laptops to schools with Ukrainian children to help them get back to their school classes. And of course, as an NGO organization, we also thought about projects for this long-term support. And for example, we applied for a grant for a project counteracting systemic discrimination in public services. We did it along with Estonian and Portuguese NGOs. And this project focused on enhancing the commitment of public services and institutions towards a more inclusive service delivery. And we wanted to obtain this by raise awareness through training, also to formulate dedicated policy recommendations and implementing them simply in public services. And also another project that was our main focus was to create a network of special points of care for children. Because most refugees that came to Poland were mothers with children. So in order to enable them to seek jobs in Poland, we wanted to activate Ukrainian mothers, Ukrainian women in the Polish labor market. So those points of children care would take up to 5 children and would, of course, require certified qualifications and language course and entrepreneurship course. but also Polish children could benefit from such care points if they were run by tandems of Ukrainian and Polish women. And I would like to draw your attention to this very interesting data at the very bottom of this slide, which according to our estimates, each 1 zloty invested brings a return on investment of 7.3 zlotys. So the scale is visible. Next slide, please. And according to survey by the Polish Economic Institute, Polish business is open to employ Ukrainian refugees, and most willing are big and medium companies. They considered about 40% of the respondents, but also micro companies, over 20%. And then the survey shows that Ukrainian refugees are most likely to find job in industrial production sector, construction sector, and of course, services. Next slide, please. So our conclusion for this presentation is that we really think that intersectoral cooperation of main actors, main sectors that have real impact on the situation of Ukrainians is really important. So business, local governments, and NGOs. So these stakeholders need to cooperate to provide this systemic support. And also responsible and holistic support, as Sergei mentioned before, is very important. And it also includes, as we underline and highlight through our presentation, the systemic solution, the long-term ones. So this is the S in the ESG. This is crucial. So thank you. Now, this is all from Responsible Business Forum, and now let's hear the perspective of a local self-government from the capital city of Warsaw. So, Ms. Karolina Zdrodowska, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Welcome everyone, and thank you for inviting me to this webinar, and that I can share the perspective of the city of Warsaw and the challenges which we faced. I will quickly share my presentation, and please just confirm that it is visible.
It is visible, yes.
But is it visible in the proper? Probably not.
We can see the next slide as well.
And now?
No.
Is it correct now?
Yes, it's beautiful.
Okay.
It's okay. Thanks.
The war, of course, is a huge challenge for Warsaw as a city. It is at the same time a sort of a test for us, whether we are a city which is responsible, which is capable of empathy, helping others, and also a city which can use the resource of social diversity. And it was already mentioned by Sergei, the numbers, but I will just try to show you how it looks from the city perspective and city management. To understand how big the changes have taken place in Warsaw, please imagine that a city, a metropolis of around 2 million people, increased its population by over 15% in only 3 months. As it was said, 3.9 million people crossed the border from Ukraine, and every 5th person crossed Warsaw. Of course, some of them moved further, some of them came back already to Ukraine, because we can observe this trend also. But in the peak point, 300,000 refugees stayed in Warsaw, and of course, this brought particular consequences to managing the city. In this number, about 1/3 are children and youth, so from small children to 18 years old, which also, of course, has...
Excuse me to interrupt. We only can see the first slide. We can see the slide change.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Yes.
All right.
Thank you.
Sorry for this. Also, the number of a very big number of Ukrainians who were already living in Warsaw increased, and it increased 9 times, and it reached almost 350,000 people. And such quick, intensive changes, mostly related to the number of people, but also with very particular type of support they need, of course, required immediate coordinated response from the city. And it was already also mentioned, a huge burden was put on the cities in Poland, and we were waiting for stronger and more clear coordination from the government, but still, most of the problems we had to deal with, we did ourselves. And at the beginning, all the aid activities were conducted in the reception points at railway station, bus stations, so everywhere where migrants gathered. Assistance was provided to a total of over 320,000 people, and in the peak point, we provided help daily to more than 30,000 people. So just to show you the perspective and the numbers of the city. And of course, it wouldn't be possible without huge help and huge actions from the non-governmental organizations and also from business and the citizens of Warsaw, who hosted more than 100,000 refugees in their houses. And it is also important to show you, sorry, I don't know if you can see the next slide or no? The scale of assistance, yes?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. It is important to show the entire context of the situation and how quickly all the organizations in Warsaw and the city reacted to the situation. For years, Warsaw has been building the volunteer potential of the inhabitants, and we have a system to support with volunteers. It is called Ochotnicy Warszawscy, which can be translated to Warsaw Volunteers. And I have to say that this system, which we had a lot of experience with the system already with Euro 2012, and then of course in the pandemic, but the character of this aid was quite different. The numbers were of volunteers were also very big, but the character of the support was very different. But I have to say that if we are talking about the reaction of the city to this crisis, I have to mention this huge work of the volunteers, and that in this aspect, I have a feeling that the city passed a test in being prepared to such problems. So in our system, we had 20,000 registered people. Of course, not all of them took part in the everyday aid, but 4,500 people helped at least once. Of course, many of them were helping almost through the whole first part of the crisis. But this number, 4,500, I think, is quite impressive. But what I wanted to say today, what I wanted to talk about, sorry, is our response to the labor market. Since the very beginning of the humanitarian crisis, of course, at the beginning, we had to provide social help, medical help, psychological help, and most of all, we had to provide places to stay, places to live. But at the same time, from the very beginning, we started thinking about how to help those people stand on their own feet, become economically independent. We also knew that, of course, what we all know, that these are mostly women with children, so this help in labor market must be very specific and tailored exactly for their need. Sorry. Already before, I think after 3 weeks from the outbreak of war, we opened labor office point. We have a labor office which is normally working in the city of Warsaw in 3 points, but we decided to open a special one for the citizens of Ukraine, where the help will be provided exactly for their needs. And at the same time, we wanted to make sure that our citizens of Warsaw, who were also using the labor office before the outbreak of war, will not have this service in any lower standard. That's why we opened it in a very good point in Warsaw, Marszałkowska Street, which is the city center, of course, with all the support of translators and volunteers who can support in registering, finding jobs, finding information, writing CV, finding proper scholarship, and in general, introducing the Polish labor market to people who were lost, of course, and did not know how to look for work. And of course, not all people who are looking for a job in Warsaw have to register in our labor office, but still we have almost 3,000 registered, which gives us also a closer look at who exactly those people are and what preferences they have, what needs they have, and what skills they have, what professions, etc. So these are, of course, more than 90% are women, and almost 60% of them have higher education. 37% of them have secondary education, which shows us that these are very well educated people. And we can see a full professional cross-section: teachers, lawyers, nurses, managers, graphic designers, architects. So all possible professions. Unfortunately, not all of them can work in their profession in Poland because of particular legal requirements. And also not all of them have certificates, nostrification proofs of their skills and education. Another problem is that only about 36% of those registered declare that they can speak English, and a bit more than 30% declare that they can speak Polish. And I also have to mention that these are declarations. Very often, after short conversation, we see that this level of foreign language is lower than declared. So this is a huge challenge for us because absolutely, it is crucial that in most jobs we first have to support them with language courses, which also takes time and also needs a particular system for them. And the labor office, of course, provides language courses, as well as many institutions, NGO organizations in Poland. So another problem which we have in the labor office is the lack of job offers. Simply, we have more or less 6,000 job offers registered in our database in the labor office, which is, of course, absolutely not enough. If we take 3,000 registered people and 6,000 offers, it doesn't mean that we have a job for everyone, because most of those job offers are for men. And I mean, for men, meaning in, for example, construction, or in transport. So in professions in which it is either impossible for women to work, or for mental reasons, women are not ready to take a job which is considered manly. So we have to also address this problem by providing this information about possibilities to maybe work on different skills, so that the finding a proper job offer is possible. I also have to mention, because both me and Sergey, we mentioned that we need greater involvement of the government. But I have to say that in the special legal changes provided by the government after the outbreak of war, quite quickly the regulations connected with the labor market were introduced, and they went quite far. We can give a job to a person who doesn't even have PESEL. The only requirement is that the employer informs the state in 2 weeks that he hired a person from the Ukraine. So I have to say that this was very important from the very beginning for our city. We are also running a very active information campaign addressed to employers in the city, because we want to invite them to submit jobs offers and help refugees by creating job offers for Ukrainians, for our guests. This campaign is under the slogan, employers, let's help refugees from Ukraine. So very simple slogan for them. And what is very important, by focusing on the needs of people from Ukraine, we also analyze the needs of the capital city's labor market. Because of course, this number of people who can take jobs is also helpful for our city, in which the unemployment level was very low. The huge problem in general when looking at our labor situation is that many men from Ukraine left Poland and went to their country to fight. But so far we don't see any huge change in the particular segments of economy and labor. The demand for female employees in Warsaw is mostly in the nurseries, in the health service and personal care, cleaning and tidying services, the retail trade, hotel and catering industry. And very often these are possible jobs which don't really meet the education, the skills of Ukrainians who come to Warsaw. But what we found is crucial is to find any job for them. And I have to say that most of those registered in our labor offices, and also what we observe by contacting business, is that these people are willing to take any job, and in the next step they are thinking about upgrading and about thinking of something that meets their education in a better way. So what we can do in the labor market, we have limited possibilities to help, but still there is a lot we can do. I said already about the information campaign, but we can also assistance our guests in obtaining professional qualifications. We can help them in nostrifications of their documents. We can send them on vocational training, which are of course tailored for the needs of the employer, so that we are training someone exactly for the job that is available. Due to cooperation with an NGO and with business, we can provide free tests for sanitary needs, which are very important now, especially when we open gardens of restaurants for the summer, and we expect that a lot of jobs will be provided there. And of course, in order to make the number of jobs offers as big as possible, we are in cooperation with commercial recruitment portals, with employment agencies, and with everyone who is also, let's say, working in the same segment. So we have a number of partnerships signed with those bodies. Of course, every job fair meeting now, both commercial and city, has the component of providing support for the Ukraine, and we are always trying to support this component in all those meetings. But this was mostly about the labor office. We also took some initiatives by the city itself. So we opened a project which is called Workspace Ukraine. This is a number of places where we share space, computers, desks for work, also with some place where they can use printers, they can use even just make coffee, have a break for dinner. If needed, we'll also add a component of providing daycare for their children. And we opened such places in 3 main points in Warsaw, but also we have a number of district places of this kind. And due to this, a few hundred places for work, for continuing online work, or for looking for a job on their own, or for just using the computer and the internet from the city structure. We opened them a few weeks ago, now still observing how this program works. If it will work well, of course, we will make more of such places. And I also have to say that this is just a part of a bigger business initiative, because many companies in their offices provided a part of space for Ukrainians, either with lower rent or for free. So we, with our city initiative, are only a part of a network in the city of Warsaw. And this would not be possible if not for help of business, including FOB. So once again, I would like to thank for this. So here I also named the main problems. The main problem in the labor market right now in Warsaw is that we don't know what the future of those people will be, how long they will want to stay in Warsaw, for how long we are looking for jobs for them. Also, the need to provide care for children, as these are very often women who come here with children, and to take a job, they need a place in a nursery or in a kindergarten. As I said already, the lack of language skills is a huge problem, which we are trying to help, but it takes time. And also lack of certificates and documents. But this also is possible, in most cases is possible, but again, needs time. We know that we cannot help everyone in one moment. Like this change was huge and very sudden. So this is a challenge in which we have to think about a few particular steps, and we know that we have to plan it for a long distance in future. But so far, more than 35,000 people found legal job since the war broke out. So I believe that this is very good information. This is a very big number in just 3 months. So I believe that all the steps we decided to take, but also all the steps which are taken by business, by NGO, were designed in a good way. So just to sum up, I think that I crossed the time already a lot. We are thinking both in very short steps, but also in long distance perspective. And what we want to share with everyone who can spread it is that we need job offers in the city of Warsaw. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Zdrodowska, for these inspiring examples and good practices from the capital city of Warsaw and the perspective of local self-government. This is very important, as we mentioned before, this intersectoral support and cooperation between different actors. So now let's hear the business perspective. We invited two business representatives, the NatWest Poland and Santander Bank Poland. So first, I would like to give floor to Mr. Maciej Kuska, Head of Technology and Security from NatWest Group.
Yes, thank you. It's great to be here. So there have been great presentations. I found a lot of useful information there. Let me start my screen share and we'll kick off shortly. Okay, I hope you can see my presentation. So indeed, let me introduce myself maybe before we start. So my name is Maciej Kuska and I have privilege to lead technology and security teams in Warsaw with more than 120 specialists on board. I'm also a member of the NatWest management team in Poland. For the last 25 years, I've been working in financial sector, mostly in banking industry, in various IT roles. However, through all this time, I've been heavily engaged with retail and commercial customers and development of banking products for them. That is my benefit for today, in fact. Apart of that, I'm sponsor of employees-led network, which is a women network. What are the women employees-led networks? I will tell you in a minute, but this is the main reason why I'm here, as a women network plays a key role in providing support for all those who escaped from the war. So a minute ago, we heard that most of our guests are women with children, so that is why I'm heavily engaged in this as well. I'm also a mentor in various development programs when I work with people on defining strategies, personal development, and building long-term solutions. So that a bit explain why I took that structure of presentation. And personally, I'm father of two, and my biggest hobby is astronomy. So you can join me on this topic as well. Okay, so today I represent NatWest Group, which is a major retail and commercial bank in the United Kingdom and Ireland. We provide a full range of banking and insurance services to 19 million of our personal businesses and commercial customers. So that makes us the real top player on the market. So every fourth entrepreneur makes banking with us, and each day 25% of payments in the United Kingdom are settled through the NatWest. That shows the potential we exactly have as a enterprise company, and later on I will refer to that as well. In Poland, we don't have commercial presence. However, NatWest hires around 1,600 people in shared service center in Warsaw. And it's worth to mention, as we are talking about diversity as well, that 20% of our colleagues are foreigners. Okay, so when you know who I am, so let me share some background information why we could be successful in providing a response to the war in Ukraine so far. So since few years' time, NatWest is a purpose-led organization, what means that we strive to create value by balancing different needs of our stakeholders. Our key stakeholders, which we are responsible for, are customers, colleagues, communities, but not only, but those are on whom I would like to focus today. Our vision is to champion potential, helping people, families, and businesses to thrive, and that's define why we are so happy to engage not only in our business commitment, but also in other form of support. With set of our values, we created a solid fundament for providing support to everyone who needs that, not only when crisis comes, like a war, but also in all other situations. I strongly believe that each organization should start from here, but in a second I will explain you why it's so important. Clear purpose, vision, strategy, and values help us to create a space for people to collaborate. We have variety of employee-led, employee-organized led groups known as employee-led networks. The networks are made up of volunteer employees who play a key role in delivering, raising awareness of, and influencing our bank-wide well-being, diversity, equity, and inclusion strategy. So networks also provide an avenue of focused personal development, as well as numerous networking opportunities for their members. As employer, we just help them to manage logistics and provide basic financial support. So far, we have 9 networks where our colleagues can engage with, and you can find the list on the bottom of this slide. The network plays a key role in supporting NatWest Group to achieve our purpose. So they help us to understand our colleagues, customers, communities better, so we can meet their needs. When war has started, the networks were first who responded to the crisis. They were like an army of people, motivated, engaged, and eager to help and ready to act immediately with thousands of ideas. So the response of our employees was really huge. Many of our colleagues went to Polish-Ukrainian border to help people over there. Thousands of us offered transport and accommodation to those who escaped from the war. People grouped around employees-led networks have started immediately generate thousands of ideas. And our response to that was to streamline all those activities related to humanitarian crisis through the dedicated project. So the main goal of the project is willingness of to transfer willingness of our employees to support into real actions and provide help for those who need it. So the objective is to streamline non-government organization support and manage activities identified by employees as a company. We don't want to reinvent the wheel, but we would like to structure all those kind of activities which already exist across human aid organizations and people. We just would like to plug into the system. So that's why we defined various levels of support we are providing through the project. So this is symbolic support, like displaying our support and in letters, social media, conversations, putting some pictures on our profile in social media. This empathic by giving our colleagues support and checking how they feel. Are they safe, and if everything they need they have. So it also applies to our Polish colleagues, as many of us live or have families next to the Ukrainian border, so they were really scary at the beginning of the war. Then something wrong can happen to their families as well. There's a financial support when we support individuals and also approved NGOs. Informational when we fight with against propaganda and fake news, and of course we act by real and practical activities supporting refugees, so like helping in logistics center, donation, money, clothes, food, providing essential supplies, sleeping bag pads, furniture, and many more. So the project is composed out of 4 pillars. It continue to work, and those pillars are accommodation pillar when we support relocation to other countries. So this is one leg. The other one is to provide a long-term accommodation for people who are in Poland at the moment. So the goal is to help the refugees to find a safe place in United Kingdom, which is our home country for NatWest. The other pillar is education pillar, where we are focused on identification of potential activities which on the educational field we can support as a NatWest. So that is really important that we have that capabilities, and we are looking how we can utilize them. Job activation pillar, when we joined the effort with, in this case, Fundacja Sukces Pisane Szminką, and we run professional integration program with them. So the objective is to identify and implement activities aiming to support refugees who are willing to find a job in banking and financial sector in Poland. Next pillar is volunteering and charity. When we provide volunteering support, fundraising activities, we help in goods collection and also supporting pets. Here you can see a few success stories. So the biggest one is the first one. We promoted donation to the DEC Ukraine Humanitarian appeal from our colleagues and customers, and we reached almost 7 million British pounds, which includes also 2.5 million of matching by the NatWest group. So on top of what have been collected by our customers and colleagues, we add to the pool next 2.5 million. So that shows potential. That's why I told you a few words about our company, because the branch in Poland is quite small, so 1,600 people, but in the group we have 50,000 our colleagues, but our customers, there's a population of 19 million people who are next to us, and we can also engage this group. And it's worth to remember, because we are talking about long listing project, which as we've heard before, we have no sure when it's going to end. So we entered in cooperation with another NGO, Perspective Educational Foundation, when we set up a scholarship program to help 500 Ukrainian students to continue their studies on Polish universities. We also offered one of our buildings to the city hall for the purpose of temporary shelter. We have set up a relocation center next to our headquarters in Edinburgh in Scotland, with simplified process of account opening for people coming into UK from Ukraine, and also that process is localized, so you can go through the process without knowing English language, is in the Ukrainian language. We run various of volunteering actions with NGOs we are cooperate with. Also, we teach our colleagues Ukrainian language just to help them to address their needs if they are hosts, for instance. And we run in parallel other fundraising campaigns, for instance, to support children with oncological diseases. What is the most important from that engagement point of view? So we remove a limit of volunteering days. So usually, for our colleagues, so everyone is entitled to spend 3 days on various volunteering activities. But we decided if all your job is done, then you can spend as many days as you wish on supporting those who escape before the war. Okay, whatever we have done so far, it's apparently not enough. As I said, it's a long listing journey, and unfortunately, more of it is still in front of us. So what we can observe, needs are still more or less the same. So it's safety, accommodation, healthcare, childcare, education, language skills, job, and finally financial well-being are top of the list. Are we lost? No, I don't think so. I believe we need to continue connecting the right ropes together to be fully successful. And let me share some examples. So companies have priceless assets. So we have reputation. We are trusted partners for our regulators, customers, and communities. We have ability to, for instance, verify our host in case of relocation. So we can be that source of information for every party. We have people. We are we are a group of, for instance, when we consider only NatWest, we are a group of thousands of colleagues, millions of customers, and let's imagine that only 25 of our local populations are willing to help. So it means 400 people who can work for a whole week. So it's massive people, okay? And the companies like NatWest, there are hundreds or thousands in Warsaw and Poland for sure. Or we can just provide a crew of 8 people for the whole year long. And of course, this number can be higher if we engage more people or more companies. We have unlimited networking opportunities which we can use at any moment of time. So we can imagine almost 50,000 employees, their families, their friends, and 19 million of customers, and multiplied by the same. So this is really, really, really huge potential which exists next to us. And also we have physical assets like furniture, computers, cars, trucks, buildings, and many more we can share as well. Last but not least, skills and experience in various aspects of our life. So we are process-driven organizations as well. So we have that true understanding of processes and projects, for instance, management skills. We can advise in law cases, finance area, and many more. We also have people who are professional trainers who can who run in fact development teams or are part of development teams and which work with our own employees, but they can do more. And what is the most important, we are really willing to help. Okay, so let's wrap up. So I like this topic. I like topic of this webinar very much because it already suggests that we can't be successful without engaging of 3 levels of support. So we have on one hand companies which have people and assets, and they are first pillar of that support. We have organizations who have know-how and recognition of true needs are the second one. And finally, we have cities, which are managing core infrastructure, key services, are host for all of us. And for me, they must be brain of the whole operation, the most solid pillar which holds coordination of the whole help. There should be also another partner which is not present at the moment. I mean government, but because all kind of support must be provided in line with the law, which is on many occasions behind of us. I know that some of our initiatives failed due to lack of proper legislation. So if we underline everything with purpose, strategy, true values, and that society, community we are part of, we can fail. That is so important to think long term and act strategically. And if you recognize any missing element, it's time to address it. So NatWest is a learning organization. We have that ambition to spend even 10% of our time on learning, but learning is not only getting the knowledge, but also sharing the knowledge. So so I'm happy to answer all your questions after webinar, and here is my email address if you would like to contact me in case of any question, challenges, comments, or any other case. So thank you so much, and over to you, Patricia. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kuska, for the detailed insight into NatWest's inspiring best practices and what you as a company have managed to achieve so far. So what clearly resonates is at first the great will of support and also the cooperation with other organizations and with other actors that we are highlighting it from the very beginning, which is really crucial for the systemic and long-term help and support. And now I would like to give voice to Mr. Łukasz Gabler, Public Policy Manager from Santander Bank Polska, to show another take on business perspective on support of our Ukrainian neighbors. Mr. Gabler, over to you.
Okay, so I'm back. my presentation is uploading, so I hope that it's going to be visible soon. Let's wait a few seconds. I think it's the issue of our system. Okay, so yes, here it is. I hope that you can see it.
We can see it now, yes. Okay,
perfect. So thank you very much for the invitation to this forum, being able to listen to the others and share ideas and experiences always brings a positive result. So even though we are discussing all the actions that business undertook in response to war in Ukraine, in my presentation I will not discuss the sanctions. Just let me say that their implementation and compliance with them is an enormous organizational, procedural, and technical report for the financial institutions. So going back to the presentation, I have divided it into three parts. One refers to hard, called it like that, so all the actions and projects that we undertook outside our regular business activities, which of course doesn't mean that we do not provide our regular service to customers with all our heart. During the second part of my presentation, I will discuss a bit how we will shape our services to be more supportive for people fleeing from Ukraine. This is where all the actions ensuring financial inclusion will be presented. And the third part is about the financial technology solution, which we proposed and which is being used in distribution of humanitarian aid in Poland. So let's start with the hard part. As an organization, we undertook lots of activities. I'm really proud to say that the bank I work for fitted very well into the overall Polish society response to war in Ukraine. The energy, the solidarity, the compassion and involvement of our employees has never been bigger and resulted in many undertakings. It was a challenge for us to channel all this enormous energy so it flows into right directions and simply not becomes wasted. So what we did, first of all, we've decided to help our employees in their need to help the others. We have 10,000 of them located around Poland. So for them, we have created a series of webinars in which we have been explaining to them how and what's the best way to help the Ukrainians. And we have also created an internal platform, which is called Helping to Help, through which our colleagues could exchange not only the ideas, but also, propose some solutions in two forms. I want to help and I need something. Among our employees, we also have around 60 Ukrainian employees. So what we did for them was also to prepare a comprehensive HR package, an additional money support, as well as we provided apartments for relocated family members. And they are also able to take additional paid off work days if, there is a need for them to become more engaged in helping other Ukrainians coming to Poland. We also added additional hours of paid absence related to volunteering. This all happened, as I've mentioned before, due to the huge energy and eagerness of our employees to help the refugees coming to Poland. Quite a lot of them become engaged in the initiative, like the one presented by the city of Warsaw. What we also did and what we are proud of is how we've engaged our clients in help for the refugees. We started a charity action, which was called a Double Power of Help, where our clients, but also employees, could donate money via mobile and internet banking to the Santander Foundation. The bank later on doubled all donations, and altogether we have supported Polish Red Cross, UNICEF Poland, Polish Humanitarian Action, and City of Przemyśl with a total amount of 4.25 million zlotys. Santander Bank Polska also participated in help provided by the Bank of Santander Group, which raised over 10 million euros. And in collaboration with the group, we also helped around 180 refugees to reach safely Spain, as well as have helped in coordination of so-called Portuguese corridor. I mean, also a way of relocation of those who wanted to travel to Portugal. Now, what we are doing is concentrating on support for local schools, I mean, which are facing a huge challenge of working with more than 100,000 Ukrainian pupils, as well as on facilitating the access to the labor market for those refugees who would like to stay in Poland for longer. And that we do mainly through offer of online Polish language classes that we have created with the University of Szczecin. What we also do constantly, and what we did also at the beginning of the war, is the advocacy and knowledge sharing. I mean, being in the front line of operation, we've decided not only to be a source of information for all the banks that we have in the group, but also for the whole European banking system, I mean, through the EBS. So we share with all the financial institutions the information and everything what we've learned about the needs and problems and of the refugees, as well as the challenges that the banking system might have and has in terms of securing financial inclusion. So going to this financial inclusion issue. From the very beginning of the war, we knew that the banks will, be important for the refugees. First of all, in securing transfer to and from Ukraine, in financial, integration of the refugees, as well as in the process of distribution of social benefits or help for refugees, which in Poland is distributed through the banking system. In Poland, before the war, we already had a community of more or less of 1 million people from Ukraine, so we immediately knew that many of them will want to provide financial support to their families back there in Ukraine so they could survive during the war or to flee the country. That is why we've ensured free of charge transfers to and from Ukraine for our customers, but not only private persons, but also for the companies, because we also knew that they will need to support their employees. The next step was to offer a financial solution and financial services for those refugees who were already here in Poland. This is, of course, an important issue. Without access to this financial services, without bank accounts, refugees simply lack a safe place to save and receive money. At the later stage, they cannot fully participate in the country's economy or build a stable life here in Poland. Moreover, as I've mentioned earlier, without a banking account, it's difficult, not possible, but very difficult also to obtain a help in form of a social benefit. Therefore, a refugee account was created. It can be opened in a very fast manner, even if a person doesn't have an Ukrainian ID or a passport. And it allows for, free withdrawals in all ATMs, free transfers to and from Ukraine, as well as it's used with a payment card. Those accounts can be later on, changed into a regular account, as soon as the person, residing in Poland for some time, presents us, the documentation which is needed, like, for example, the proof of address of the resident. So since 24th of February, our bank opened around 86,000 of such refugee accounts. What we also do is that we provide services here in Poland in Ukrainian and Russian language, in all channels of communication with the client. So it's the hotline, it's the mobile banking, as well as the internet banking. What we experience right now, and which is also a novelty, is the issue of cybersecurity. I mean, unfortunately, times of crisis are also times when cyber criminals become more active and fraudulent activities are very visible. So what we are doing right now is we have prepared and we started a special education and campaign for our clients from Ukraine, and to make them aware of the results of the cybersecurity issues, as well as the threats that they may encounter while discovering the Polish mobile banking system. And now moving to the third part of my presentation, I will just say that technology can and is playing a crucial role in area of humanitarian aid, and our UNHCR BLIC project just proves that. This system, I mean, has been created as a response to the question that we got from one of our clients, United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, which turned to us for a solution that would enable fast, efficient distribution of cash aid to the refugees that would additionally have a kind of a eco-friendly character. So what we did is that, thanks to the advanced technological solution that we have been already using, within the 2 weeks we have been able to offer them a solution which is based on a BLIC. I mean, it's a payment system, very well known in Poland, but so far it has never been used in this form. Our answer was simply a BLIC check system, a customized system, which is based on a, okay, it can be seen here, which is based on a unique 9-digit code, which can be used to withdraw cash from the ATM all around Poland. So the system is in operation since April and already was used to provide cash to more than 155,000 of refugees who received around 32 million euros. The rate of the distribution is being still developed by our partner, the UN agency, and the number of the people who will receive aid through this channel is definitely going to grow. The system has also proved to be simple for final users, as only 1.2% of the checks that we provide to the refugees is being burned. It means that they have not been used, or I mean that there were mistakes in terms of how to withdraw money from the ATM. This technology, I hope, that's gonna be used further, and also it's a solution that could be implemented outside Poland, because the only limitation that we experience with the BLIC solution is that it works only with the ATMs which are located in Poland. So I hope that I have not crossed my 10-minute time, and for now, that would be all from my side. If you have any questions regarding what we did here at Santander Bank Polska in Poland, I'm here at the webinar and ready to answer them. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Gabler, for sharing these outstanding examples of responsible support of Santander Bank Polska, divided into 3 areas. Well, offering financial solutions using companies' resources and know-how, but also engaging not only employees, but also clients as well to provide support. This was another example of a need to cooperate, to join forces in order to provide responsible and long-term support. So now let's hear the insider's view, the CSR Ukraine. What is your take on support from different sectors? What solutions are needed? So Ms. Marina Sabrykina, CEO of CSR Ukraine, over to you, please.
Patricia, thanks a lot. Hello, everybody, and thank you for your fantastic presentations and for fantastic help you are providing to Ukrainians. Now I will try to show my presentation. Do you see it? Okay. Today is 111th day of war, and it's still going on in eastern Ukraine. Sorry, now you see my presentation. Actually, when Patricia told about Forum of Responsible Business Support, I should say that I was in Warsaw at CSR Marketplace. Thanks a lot for your support. And also, I'm very amazed with the support which Warsaw City is providing, and thank you for this presentation as well as other companies and banks. I represent CSR Ukraine. This is the sister organization of Forum Responsible Business. We are based in Ukraine. Now I'm based in Vienna. 50% of my team is based in Ukraine. And we work. Previously, we had 3 key areas of work, and still we have 3 areas of work. It's CSR and sustainability, girls in STEM, and youth employment. So we continue our work. Sure, it was 1 month of, it was 1 month of the delay because we were looking for a safer place. It was after 24th of February, but from the end of March, we resumed our work. You have already know the statistics globally or overall. There are around 14.9 million Ukrainians left their home. And internally displaced people are 8.3, and these people are at Western Ukraine in safer places, but also more than 6 million people left Ukraine. And yes, what we see now, and you've already mentioned that people started to come back to Ukraine, and now more than 2 million people returned. It's good, but also you should understand, and you already understand this, that some people will stay longer because their houses are destroyed. So that's why some solutions are needed, and as you mentioned, holistic solutions. Also, I would like to suggest you to change a bit term. It's not Russian-Ukrainian war. It's not a conflict. It's war against Ukraine and against European values. But also now this war has global implications. And first thing is humanitarian crisis, and you know about this. But also in terms of this humanitarian crisis, 13 million of Ukrainians need humanitarian assistance. And yes, Polish companies, Polish cities, and Polish NGOs provided such kind of humanitarian assistance to Ukrainians and to Ukrainian NGOs. The second is economic challenge, and everybody in Europe, and not only in Europe, can see a high inflation. Also in Ukraine, economic costs of the war is around $600 billion. And every month, Ukraine needs $5 billion. Also, you can see that there is a food crisis, food implications. Ukraine is used to export 4.5 million tons of agricultural product per month through its ports, and now many ports are blocked by Russia. And sure, we can see energy crisis and security crisis. So these are implications of this war, and for them we also should get prepared. As an Ukrainian abroad, I can say that there are some challenges which you have already mentioned, but also which I feel. First, it's ensure the safety and security and make adaptation of to living. Again, some bureaucratic issues appeared. Another challenge is how to get employment. And one thing which is very important is psychological help. Because yes, we are here, we are in Europe, but our soul and hearts are in Ukraine. And that's why now all our services we provide to Ukrainians in Ukraine and abroad include psychological help. So if you can do this, please do this also. In terms of employment challenges, I think that a lot of countries, including Poland, made a kind of simplified procedures, but also there are some legal restrictions. There is a kind of lack of the centralized channels for job announcement. And also, there are some psychological factors. First of them is preference for short-term jobs instead of long-term employment, because people are in Poland and they would like to come back to Ukraine when it will be safer and Ukraine will win. And also it's a lack of confidence among potential employees, because let's agree that majority of refugees are women with kids, and we know that sometimes women needs this confidence in their strengths. So that's kind, for example, some mentorship program will be very, very needed. So how can companies support? I try to ask all my friends in my Facebook what they think about this, and the key answer was cancel Russia, stop working in Russia. So please, companies, if you continue working in Russia or your supply chain is in Russia, please stop this, because it's bloody money. And we Ukrainians pay too high prices for this, and I think that it's important to cancel Russia, to leave the market and boycott goods from Russia, because the taxes companies pay there sponsor war against Ukraine. The second, recruit Ukrainians, and you're already doing a fantastic job in this. But as I was very impressed that 40% of people at labor market, labor office are Ukrainians. So please recruit Ukrainians, help them with confidence, provide some mentorship support for them to get employed. Again, provide humanitarian assistance. You already done a lot, but there has already been 3 months of war, and we understood that in the beginning there were more donations that we get now. So, but please don't get tired of war, because it's war, and there is much humanitarian assistance we need. Support local NGOs. Please engage in place in corporate volunteering. You already do a lot, and you increased the number of volunteering days. Provide mentorship to Ukrainians, provide career counseling, help Ukrainian companies, especially small and medium business, via grants, financial assistance, procurement or sharing of equipment, because many small and medium enterprises have been relocated to Western Ukraine. They need equipment, they need some grants, so help them and include them in your supply chain. It's also one of the options. And sure, now Ukraine is developing a rebuilding plan. You could be a part of this. And here perhaps it's my request to Forum of Responsible Business. Perhaps you could unite companies from Poland to be a part of Ukrainian Rebuilding Pact. In terms of organizations, because I like the title of your webinar, it's companies, organizations, and cities. And also it's very important to do most of the things I told for companies, but also you could help NGOs in Ukraine via grants, financial assistance. But also we now try to elaborate interesting project on internships for Ukrainian NGOs, for Ukrainian sustainability managers, for them to be able to go abroad to Poland, to other countries, and to work for 2 weeks to understand the global context, to learn something, and to get back to Ukraine and apply their obtained knowledge. And also it will be very, very great to include in this scheme cities, also to make this exchange of Ukrainian employees from our cities to work for example, Warsaw City for two weeks. Also, and now we see a lot of new non-governmental organizations appeared from the beginning of the war. They also do fantastic job in terms of volunteering, in terms of collecting funds and helping army and helping people in need. And what Polish NGO could do is to help Ukrainian NGOs improve their organizational capacities via webinars, trainings, consultations. And also it's very important to help Ukrainian schools and hospitals to be rebuilt. So it's important. And another recommendations for cities. Again, it's about supply chain and it's about canceling Russia. And what you are already doing in terms of the project for work offices for Ukrainians, we thought that it will be very, very great. And I really like, Patricia, your idea about, Forum of Responsible Business idea of child safe spaces. And perhaps it will be very great collaboration between Warsaw City and Forum of Responsible Business, because it's very needed. International Organization of Labor conducted a kind of survey to understand what are key barriers for women employment now, and the most important barrier, the most critical barrier now is where to take what to do with kids, because kids, it's quite difficult to work with kids. So that's why to have such child safe spaces is very important for women employment. So that's why organized child-friendly spaces in public, in public co-working, etc. And also the idea is to provide paid internships for Ukrainians, employees of the city administrations in Ukraine. And again, I'm inviting Polish cities to be a part of Ukraine rebuild process. What else is important is, if you are a company, you can join our mentoring program for Ukrainians abroad. A lot of mentors are welcome, so your employees from your companies, from your cities, organizations could join. And we just launched this project all over Europe, and not only Europe, we have mentors from New Zealand, for example. Also, what is very important, and perhaps now it's my pet project, I like it very much, we are going to launch Ukrainian Women Entrepreneurs Hub online for all Ukrainian women in the country and abroad, to help them to gain financial independence and rebuild their lives by creating their own businesses and building soft skills. And we also now working for Ukrainians abroad through providing career counseling. And here is also my appeal to companies. If you have career consultant in your company, this person could join our career counselors network, and it really will help Ukrainians to get employed in other countries. And also, I'm inviting you to a webinar, 24-hour webinar, which will be on 21st, 22nd June, Sustainability for Ukraine. During 24 hours, we are going to discuss sustainability implications for sustainability managers, for companies, for cities, all around the world. And also we would like to fundraise money for civil society in Ukraine. So join us. I think it will be very interesting. And this is our context. So please, if you are ready to be mentors, ready to be volunteers, or are looking for efficient project to support, I'm always open and will do my best to help you. Thank you.
Thank you, Marina Safrikina, for the perspective of an Ukrainian NGO and this insider's voice. As it was highlighted in your presentation, the war has a tremendous impact not only on Ukrainians, but on the European values and security. And thank you for sharing the recommendations on this responsible and intersectoral help. This is a great opportunity for even more cooperation between the different sectors, and we need to unite even more than ever before. So thank you once more, and Jana, over to you now.
Thank you so much, and I want to say again a big thank you to all the presenters for your very inspiring presentations. I would say it feels quite overwhelming to even see what has been done just by the very few organizations and city that you represent, and imagining that this is multiplied over and over. Thankfully, I mean, we are very grateful for that throughout the EU. I would like to now give the possibility to our attendees, participants, to ask questions. So if any of you would like to come in, either to ask questions or to share your own experience that might be relevant for the others, please just indicate with the raised hand. At the bottom line of your screen, you should see this little hand next to a smiley face, in which case I will be able to unmute you, or you can post your questions in the chats if you would prefer not to come in yourself. But I would be very much interested to hear from the rest of the participants as well. I'm looking now to see if there is anybody brave enough to start the discussions. I see we have representatives from our charter, so if you don't say it, I'm gonna just click on you and unmute you and put you into the spotlight to give us your perspective or your reactions to the presentations that we have had this morning. Nobody, come on. I will start with the questions. I wanted to respond to the presentation from Lukasz Gabler. Indeed, I mean, it's really impressive how quickly you were able to respond and just set up, possibilities for the refugees to be able to take out money, to be able to get accounts set up without documentations and so on. And I think that would be so valuable to be able to share indeed beyond as a best practice with the others. I'm sure now our participants that are aware of it, they can pass on the information as well. Have you been approached by anybody already to share your experience more widely? Because I mean, I'm from Slovakia, so I'm just thinking that, it would be very useful to have banks doing similar efforts, making similar efforts there as well. So just wanted to see if you have had a chance to share these practices outside of Poland with the colleagues from the banking sector.
Yes, we have shared our experience with all the European, financial institutions, because basically what happened is that banks reacted first with this offers. Later on, we had this discussion with supervisors and regulators. So now it's, so to say, a more regulated issue. I mean, in Poland, and it's being discussed on the European level as well. So I think that more or less, I mean, the standards are the same in all European countries in terms of opening this bank account.
That's brilliant. Very great to hear that as well. I wanted to see if there's still, I'm going to say Maria from Ireland. Do you have any questions? Yes, see. There you go.
To the Polish Charter for organising this very, very important event. I guess for us here, we feel very far away, given our geographical location, but we feel very, very strongly the need to be able to do what we can to support the people of Ukraine. And I think very importantly, we now have some good practices that we can talk about with our signatories in our charter. The question I have, I suppose, is the challenge we all have of maintaining momentum. I know our last speaker made that very clear, that many donations maybe appeared at the start and that the war is now continuing. So the challenge is to keep people aware of what is happening and keep them committed to trying to help in any way they can. So I wonder if any of the panelists had thoughts in terms of what we can do to support companies to keep trying to do what they can to support others, and more specifically to put in place practices like we've heard about today.
Anybody who would like to come back on that?
I can try. So in fact, supporting companies. So from one hand, this is what I was talking about. So to create a right strategy, right vision, right strategy, and right values, which are supporting our purpose. So this is on one hand. I think companies are. Personally, I think companies are in a pretty best position because there are plenty of us, there are plenty of people we hire, so there's plenty of capabilities which exist over there. So it's more or less a matter of motivation and engagement of people than true support we need to provide to some of them, unless there are some providers, very niche providers of some niche services, like for instance telecoms. Maybe they are huge, by the way, but maybe there are some companies who are really small but critical in this chain of support. So maybe they require some additional support, but I'm not aware of. But in fact, proper structuring, the level of proper engagement of people inside our organizations, that's the key element, I believe, and that's why I shared also my experience with all which is surrounding a single individual when he or she is bringing the support.
Thank you. I see Karolina would like to come in as well.
Since the question is mostly about business and companies, and I believe that the companies have some sort of structure of the support. So I believe it will be continued also through CSR, ESG activities. But in the city, I have to say that we do worry about the lower, I have to say, like, just simply less volunteers showing up to help, because for many reasons. One is that it just with time, this is a very natural process that this willing to help is just a bit lower. Another thing is that people are simply tired. What we noticed in our information points, in the reception points, there were so many people engaged, and also many of them working beyond level of their possibilities. They were simply tired, burnt out, and after some time they needed help. So the lesson we have learned, of course, is that we have to put more effort into self-maintenance and self-help of the volunteers, of the coordinators of volunteers, to make it a part of the system, so that everyone has to look after himself first. Also, another aspect of thinking about this change of attitude in people is that more than 100,000 people are hosting our guests from Ukraine in their houses, in their apartments, in the spaces they own. And many of them did not expect that it will last so long. This is very natural, very human, that they are also tired. So as the city, one thing is that we provide a campaign, like information campaign, but more also a campaign which is like introducing the guests from Ukraine as a important part of our life right now, and at the same time showing the perspective of what happened to them, to make them aware also in the context of our Polish history. But we are aware that some part of those people, of those who host refugees in their houses, are tired, and even if, let's say, 10% of them have to look for accommodation in the city, it will be a huge problem. The prices of accommodation in Warsaw went crazy high. It is really difficult for Ukrainians, even those who find a job, to afford renting a separate apartment in the city. So this is also something we have to foresee as the city, and we have to be prepared for, simply be prepared for different scenarios. I answered this question in a bit broader area, sorry for this, but I think that maybe it's important so that you are aware of those worries we have.
Indeed, no, very, very important input from your perspective and your. I will I'll give voice to Marina. I see your hand is raised as well.
Yes, Maria, thanks a lot for your question, because yes, we noted this tiredness a bit, and I should say that war doesn't go on vacations, and we should remember about this. I talk every day to many fantastic people, and they usually ask me one simple question: how can I help? And I think here what we can do, we can provide just very simple process how they can be engaged, to what organizations, with also taking into account their interests, because some people would like to go volunteering, some people would like to donate, and others, and other. And also, Jana, perhaps it's also to you, I was listening to these fantastic practices, and I'm also very amazed, and perhaps it will be very nice to make a kind of global European webinar about this, where different cities, different companies from different countries could exchange their ideas and their practices. Thank you.
I see Lukasz is also would like to respond. You are muted, Lukasz. Sorry, I was.
Okay, so maybe now you can hear me.
Yes, yes, perfect. Yes, you're in.
So maybe I think that it's not, I mean, the issue is not only about the people becoming tired, but also about the needs of the refugees, you know, evolving and changing constantly. So I think that it's important to go back to what was already said, that we need this kind of a long-term view to assess the challenges that are still in front of us. And for example, in the financial sector, we already think about the challenges of providing additional financial services for those refugees who are going to stay here in Poland. For example, many of them maybe in the future will be interested to start an SME in Poland. So how they are going to access the credit and you know, the finance from the bank, how we are going to assess their credit worthiness, and so on and so on. This requires a discussion and a dialogue also with the regulators and the supervisors, and we think that, I mean, it's simply necessary to start it right now to be prepared.
Thank you. No, thank you so much, and thank you for all of your inputs. I have to say, I feel like reacting to all of them myself as well. For Karolina, I realized that indeed, from the perspective of a city, you have, you know, very particular experience and and that for many organizations it might be helpful if they don't know, I mean, at the moment exactly now. So as you said, Lukasz, the needs are changing, and we have to adapt also the response to them. And in many cases, the city has a much better overview of what it is that is needed at the very moment. So for some organizations, it might be very difficult to say, like, we would like to help, but we don't really know how. So I would really encourage them, for example, to reach out to their cities where they are located, the regional authorities maybe, and to just ask there, is there anything that we can do ourselves? You know, maybe our products are not needed, maybe volunteers are not possible, but that they can always investigate the different ways of how they can be of assistance. And it might be helpful for them to know that if they reach out to their nearest city representatives or regional representatives, they might be able to give them concrete ideas as to, yes, we would need help with setting up shelters, we would need help with material help from your employees or from you as a company itself. So so basically just to continue of what all of you have been already doing, to connecting these links and start working together with the city representatives, with NGOs, with the civil society as such, and always trying to find new ways and adapting to what kind of help is needed. But it's already admirable that even you, Lukasz, are already thinking in advance and trying to anticipate the needs so that you are prepared to address them when the time comes, and that's very, very important. And to see that, you know, it's not just like a tick and that we have done our part and that's fine, but to always think forward as well. And as Marina mentioned, indeed, I mean, as you can imagine, in the Commission, it's many different services that are responding to the situation and supporting from all areas. But I do think that, as I was thinking exactly, for example, the example of Warsaw, I'm from Košice, so it's a very near border, and I follow the response there from the city itself to the influx of the refugees, what is being done, and so on. And I was exactly thinking, like, that would be a wonderful idea to have this exchange on the level of the cities, on the level of the organizations and companies, at a much wider level, so to be able to share those experiences even to a wider audience. So thank you so much for all the inputs. I'm trying to see if there is anybody else. Yes, I'm just to stress that we will have the recording, so we will be sharing it, because I see that people are indeed interested to be able to view it again and to be able to share it also with their colleagues. I'll turn to our participants to see if there is anybody else who would like to ask a question or make a comment, share your own experience. You're all very quiet this morning. I know everything, it feels like all has been said because the presentations were so good. But I'm trying to see if anyone would like to come in. Maybe from the perspective, I know we had Maria, but from the perspective of a charter, has there been any questions that you have been receiving from your signatories? I mean, even you, Patricia, if you can say from your experience, if none of the other charters would like to come in, you were the ones who initiated the topic of the discussion, so I assume that you are indeed faced with a lot of your signatories coming in with asking for, you know, guidance, what to do, how they can be of help. So if you can share from your side as well.
Yes, that is true. That is true, Jana. From the very first days of the war, we were flooded with contacts, with phone calls, with emails on how can everybody help? How can we build a coalition in supporting our Ukrainian friends? At the very beginning, the help was really spontaneous, and companies were offering, and our signatories were offering whatever they had, like their resources, just to fulfill the basic needs, as we mentioned, like accommodation and transport from the border deeper inside the country. But then there was this need to create like those to think about the long-term solutions, something that would stay for a longer period of time. And also that is why we can't stop now with the support. As it was mentioned before, the people are getting tired, but as mentioned before as well, the refugees at different stages of their stay will need different support. So that's what we have to do now, to adjust the support to the current needs. And we don't know what the future will bring. We don't know what other needs will arise. But what can we do now is to focus on something that we can predict, like from the Responsible Business Forum side, the care points for children. This is something we can do, and as Marina highlighted, it's very needed solution for mothers to be activated in the labor market. And I think that this platform of exchange of best practices on broader level is a wonderful idea. We can do that and inspire each other, other countries and other companies, and to make something good on bigger level, bigger scale.
Thank you so much, Patricia. I am trying to see. I would want to give back the floor to the speakers if there is anything else that you would like to add in the response to what has just been said. We have 5 more minutes of the webinar. I don't want to keep you longer than that, but I still want to make sure that you have had the chance to say everything that you wanted. So now is your chance if you would like to come in with any other comments.
So I'm happy to share my comments. We heard that from you that if we are willing to help, so we can contact our city majors in this matter. But I would like to revert this kind of request. So if anyone like cities, NGOs can see that there is support needed, so we have that potential, we have that capacity, capabilities, and sometimes we just don't know that this support is needed. So we are a business-focused organization, so we treat our commitments to our customers first, but there's still space for supporting others. But we are also not really flexible, especially banks and financial institutions, in terms of all kind of regulations. So we are not able to react on every request. We are rather acting in a structured mode. You said that in one of your comments. So if a city recognizes that there is a need, so we have our trusted NGOs which are approved, and through those NGOs you can get to that potential which sits in our organization. So maybe there's a action after this this meeting to create a map of those all connections, which will help us to identify through which channel we can get to which entity, each company, and which kind of support we can get from them. Would be lovely to have something like that.
No, that is a wonderful idea indeed. And I just wanted to also stress that from my side, I will share the recording of the videos with the colleagues from the other institutions and other DGs that I think it might be of relevance for them, because as you know, whenever there is a topic of a great importance, sharing best practices becomes actually a very important part of it, because you don't want to be reinventing everything from the zero, and it's very, very useful to reach out and to be able to get ideas and expertise from people who have already done something, and then just adapt it to the concrete setting in which the other companies are placed. So I will basically just to say thank you now again to all of you. It has been amazing, really, truly inspiring. I'm so grateful that you could commit these 2 hours to us and to share your experiences. And I believe really that all our participants, but also the charters and the signatories that will receive then the recording of this webinar will be grateful to learn more and reach out to you if needed. The same, if you have any other comments afterwards, please don't hesitate to come back to me as well. If I can help with anything, I will be very grateful too. And I wish you all a lot of patience, a lot of energy for the future, to stay motivated, to stay inspired, and to keep connecting, building bridges, as was the topic of our Diversity Month as well, reaching out further, and together, hopefully, we will continue make change for better. So once again, thank you so much for joining us this morning. And I will be sharing with you the recording afterwards, with the speakers, with the participants as well, and then with the diversity charter. So thanks, thank you.